533. Page 533 at the bottom. On the first.
those who read your Bibles to Decatur tomorrow. Anyone else have a prayer request?
Rick and Owen and myself will be traveling tomorrow for the rest of the day.
Anyone else? You have an unspoken request, like to raise your hand. We pray for our services tonight, pray for our study, and also for our business session of the service. If there's no other requests, then we'll go to the Lord in prayer. Brother Bobby, lead us in prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you again, dear God, today. Dear God, for all the good blessings you bless us with. Today, provide our daily needs, dear God. Business and be here to serve us tonight. Dear God, we come together here, dear God, and sing praises to your holy name. Dear God, here to
Page 34, page 34. On the first. On the last. When Jesus
Tonight I'm going to bring a study that I brought several years ago in the Sunday afternoon class. And trust that it will help us to get focused on the things that we need to focus on as God's people. Turn to the 6th chapter of the book of Micah. Micah chapter 6. Following the end of the Second World War, several soldiers who had been present at the Battle of the Bulge were interviewed. In this interview, they were asked questions about their involvement in the Battle of the Bulge, and they had no idea that this was such a decisive battle. Now I'm talking about right at the end of World War II is when this interview took place. And because they had not seen the big picture. And that's what I'd like for us to think about tonight is the big picture. In this interview, one of these soldiers had sat on a foxhole and had seen no action at all. Had not even fired his weapon. One shot at a German tank that drove by. There were some others who sat and played cards. And then a few were involved in some serious firefights with the Germans. And so when you think about men going off to war, not all of them are in the thick of the battle. Some do not even see battle or are involved in battle, we might say. And so these men had not seen the big picture of what was going on. They just saw what was going on with their individual units. And if we're not careful, we'll just take a look at what's going on in our individual lives and in our families and in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our church, and we won't get the big picture of what's going on in the world. Great victories come about when ordinary people execute their assigned task. And when you look back at the wars that this nation has fought, and especially the Second World War, when it seemed that the war could go either way in the early years, especially 1941, 1942, before some decisive battles were won. And the military might of the United States had not been up to par after the First World War, and then when the Depression came, that the military had not been as strong as it had once been. And many of the weapons that they began the Second World with were World War I vintage. And so the United States was at a tremendous disadvantage from that standpoint. And this helps us to know that if we keep looking back instead of ahead, that we're at a disadvantage. We need to look to the Lord for the present and for the future. And sometimes maybe we feel like we're in a spiritual rut. But we need to stay at our assigned tasks that the Lord has given to us. The 40th chapter of the book of Isaiah, I want us to turn and read several verses of Scripture. Isaiah chapter 40. Let's begin in verse 28. Isaiah 40, 28. Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, who created the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There's no searching of his understanding. And I believe we all could relate to this, that it would be impossible for us to completely know all there is to know about the Lord in this life. Like Paul said that now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. One day we'll see him and we'll have a full revelation of those things that he's taught in his word. So, he went on to make some more statements here that I believe would be good for us to look at. And he said, he giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary. Young men shall utterly fall. Stop and think about our younger generation for just a moment. The adolescents, the young people, the teenagers, and what they're facing today. I know that when I was in high school, that the main problem that teachers had was students writing notes in class and chewing gum in class. Now that would be minor. Drugs are virtually unknown. And when I graduated from high school, as far as being in the schools is concerned, now it's become a major problem. Alcohol, tobacco use, many things that young people are involved in now that's detrimental to them, not only physically, but some of the things they're involved in are detrimental to them spiritually and also mentally. And he said that the young men shall utterly fall. It breaks my heart to see a fine young man or a fine young lady go down under the influence of addiction, especially when they OD and leave distraught, grieving parents behind. And it's not that it just happens in the dysfunctional families. It can happen in good families. A child can take one dose of an illegal drug and they're hooked. And it's sad that it's that way, but it is. And it gets such a hold on them that they can't let go. And I've seen parents put their children through drug treatment programs, one right behind the other. And none of it worked. But in verse 31, he gives us great hope. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. The problem that we have is that we don't like to wait. You know, Brother Brian, if we walk into the Krispy Kreme store and there's 10 people ahead of us, we don't like to wait. We smell that good aroma coming from the back, those freshly cooked donuts. See that glaze just dropping down on the conveyor belt, and you know, I just about can't stand it till we taste one of those tasty delights. And so, if we don't have the patience to wait upon the Lord, then we get ahead of it. And we try to fix it ourselves. They shall mount up with wings as eagles, they shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And if you want to see a beautiful type here, first of all, he says they mount up with wings as eagles. That's a newborn Christian. They'll not be weary. They've grown. And they shall walk and not faint. They've matured as a child of God. So the steps of maturation that are taught in this verse. In Psalm 91, we'll turn and read. Psalm 91, verse 7. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. I was working for the state of Alabama as a counselor. There was a man who worked for a different agency, but we were all involved in this cooperative program to get the short-time inmates ready for gainful employment. And this man was a veteran of the Korean War. And you could tell that he was a long-time military member, just looking at him, because he still had that GI cut on his hair. And the Beatles style was popular along about that time. But, and I mean, he had that tie fixed just right, and that shirt, back when they started to iron shirts, and you could have stood it in the floor and it would have stood alone. But, spit and polish type man. He wanted everything done by the book. But he said one time he remembers the North Koreans attacking his unit, and that everyone in his unit was either wounded or killed except him. And he quoted this verse that I just read. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. And he said he went through that battle, that horrific battle, with this verse of Scripture on his heart. He said he knew the Lord had something for him to do when he got back home. It wasn't the call to the ministry. It was a call to be faithful unto Christ and to share the good news of salvation with as many as he possibly could. And that's what he did. Just a fine man. I enjoyed his fellowship. The Lord will be with us in every way if we'll allow him to do so. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Of course, we got a little bit of prophecy here concerning the coming of Christ, but the Lord will be with us in every way if we allow him to do so. In 2 Kings chapter 6, I want to turn and read. 2 Kings chapter 6, and we'll look at beginning in verse 8. Then the king of Syria warred against Israel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved him there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing, and he called his servants and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? See, the king of Syria thought there was a spy in the camp of Syria, because the man of God found out what was going on. And one of his servants said, none, my lord, no spies in the camp. None, O my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. How is this possible? The Lord revealed it unto him, or he would not have known. And And he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. Of course, I'm sure he probably had in mind putting him to death. He caught him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? He answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Now I want you to get the picture. This servant had a limited vision of what was going on. All he could see was the enemy. He wasn't looking at the broad picture. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. This servant had no idea that God had placed these chariots and horses of fire all about Elisha and this servant. Until Elisha prayed and the Lord opened the servant's eyes that he could see. Sometimes we get carried about with the cares and pressures of this life, and that's all we can see. We can see the muddled messes that we make. We can see the stress sometimes that we face. We see the mistakes we make. And we get all caught up in that. And we don't see the greater picture of the Lord working behind the scenes. And when the Lord is on our side, then what do we have to fear? In order to see the big picture, we have to take one day at a time. Sometimes we sing that song, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking of you. He only guarantees us one day at a time. Because we don't know what tomorrow may bring. Scripture tells us that sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. That is, the things of tomorrow take care of the things of tomorrow themselves when that arrives. So we're not to fret about tomorrow today. You say, well, that's hard to do. Yeah, I know just exactly. But I'm just like you. Times I'm thinking about, how am I going to handle this situation tomorrow? What am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about that? If I just turn it over to the Lord and say, Lord, you got me. You got me. He will. And I trust this could remind us that we need to see the big picture rather than just look at the small events going on about us. This is